to the people that live down here.
Welcome back to Captions, and I'm quite certain that you're going to really enjoy as well as realize some information and some rights that you have that maybe you did not know about prior to this segment. Tonight we're going to be talking about father rights, and I have three very interesting individuals who are going to share with you some of their knowledge and experience involved in Illinois father rights. Sitting immediately to my left is Tim Brown. To his left is Ian Mitchell, and to his left, a person that many of you may recognize, General Parker. Gentlemen, welcome to Captions.
Thank you.
I am so glad that you took the time this evening to come and share with us a very important organization that you're involved with, as well as I'd like for you to share with our viewers what your mission is as an organization. Jim, let me begin with you. What is the Illinois Fathers Organization?
We're a group of primarily fathers, although we also have a number of ladies in our group, grandparents as well. What we're all about is the role that a father plays, or more specifically a non-custodial parent, in the aftermath of a divorce or in the aftermath of a family separation. And in a nutshell, we're trying to get the message out there to the public that all of the ill effects of father absence are being forced upon society, because fathers are in effect being forcibly separated from their children. And what we would like is for an expanded role for these non-custodial parents in the aftermath of an unfortunate divorce or separation.
Okay, well, it's a very interesting view of it, because many listeners, in fact, I've often kind of criticized many men for not coming forth and taking on the responsibility of being a father. And what you're saying is that in many cases, fathers are really being denied their rights to be a father who choose to be a father.
You know, I don't like the term father's rights. I don't, we're grown-ups. You know, I don't think we have rights. We have a God-given responsibility to fulfill to our children, to parent them, to nurture them, to set an example. And unbelievably, this is a responsibility that we want to fulfill, but unfortunately some judge tells us that we can't. Some judge tells us that it's in the best interest of our children that we be separated from them.
We've been labeled as visitors.
We are authorized to visit our children every other weekend because that's what one person wants.
Well, I know historically and traditionally we've always kind of assumed that the mother would always be the one to get the children, and it was in the best interest of the family or the child to be with the mother. Now, Ian, do you agree or disagree with that, or what are your comments?
I certainly don't agree with that.
Okay.
I think that we need to have both parents involved in children's lives, because you learn lessons from both of your parents. Your father is different than your mother. Both have skill sets to bring to the table. That is the cornerstone of what you receive in life. I mean, you only get two things in this world: a mother and a father.
Absolutely.
And then after that, everything else is stuff that you work for. So if you automatically remove one of those out of the equation, you're missing a substantial portion of your history, of your background, that and of the lessons learned in life that you would stand to gain from that person.
General, about how old is this organization here in Illinois, and how did you happen to get involved with it?
Well, Tim and Ian can tell you more about how old Illinois Fathers is, because I just got in about a year ago. We had our first annual Fatherless Day rally, and I think 6 months before that, they called me on the phone and they asked me if I would be the keynote speaker for the first annual Fatherless Day rally. We held that in Springfield, and we just had our second one this past June 18th. And the keynote speaker there was Dr. Stephen Baskerville, who is a leading expert in this area and author of Taken into Custody. Isn't that the name of his book?
Taken into Custody.
But what I really want to stress is Illinois Fathers is a parental rights organization, because we have mothers, we have grandparents, we got people that run the whole gamut who says this system is broken. And historically, like you said, people just assume the mother is going to be the primary caregiver, and even though the mother may have never been involved in the child's life prior to that. The court system is set up now that they want to have an adversarial process, and the ABA is definitely behind this because they get more money the more they bring you into court. Okay, and every lawyer I talk to, if they have any decency or any conscience, they tell me that they don't want to be involved in family court because they see what goes on in there, and they'd rather do personal injury, they'd rather do criminal law, civil, anything other than family court, because they see how messed up family court is. And the research bears it out. And I mean, since the beginning of time, God made man and he made woman, and he made both of them to raise a family up together. You know, after all these thousands of years, or millions, however you want to go back, man and women have raised children together. Now in the last 30 or 40, they decided, whoever decided, the court systems, our legislators, well, we'll have a primary caregiver, and whoever doesn't win, they'll be relegated to 4 days a month, where you used to have your child 30 days out of a month. Now you're down to 4 days a month. And social ills bears it out. I mean, kids are not performing in school. They're joining gangs. They're more likely to take drugs, commit suicide. And the research bears it out that those kids come from fatherless homes.
Would you say that what is happening today is a result of legislative or the lack of legislative guidance, or is it the judges, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of all of them, because
it's a very complex system.
It started with legislation, but then there is some legislation in place, but it's not enforced because our courts are so gender biased. Okay. Then you have judges who have discretion, and they will rather regulate that to, well, we just go with the standard. Okay. We're not going to look at any individual case. The standard is every other weekend and maybe 3 hours through the week on the off week, and we're going to stick with that.
Some instances it can be legislative, some instances it can be procedural. There is a lot of different pieces that come into play. Some of it is political, in fact. For instance, the visitation cycle, you might say, well, how do you come about every other weekend and Wednesday nights? How does that standard come into play? I mean, because if you read Illinois state law, it says maximum participation of both parents is in the best interest of children. And you're thinking to yourself, well, how does that translate into every other weekend? So we start to break that down. We start to figure out where that comes from. If you go to a county-by-county basis to any courthouse within the state of Illinois and ask them for their recommended visitation guidelines, they'll give you a copy of it. And if you read those recommended visitation guidelines, it's what's in your court order. So that's procedural. How
does Illinois compare with other states?
Is
there anything unusual about Illinois, or is this just typical across the nation?
Illinois is a little bit behind the curve in comparison to some other states. I mean, it depends. There are some states that are worse than Illinois as well. But I know that recently, I think if I remember correctly, Washington State recently released a study about timeshare allocations with parents in a post-divorce state, and it was far more favorable than what Illinois has. So there are states out there that handle things a lot differently than we do.
Is your mission as an organization to try to bring about change, either in terms of legislation or through the judicial process, or both?
What we really want is a concept that's called shared parenting.
Shared parenting.
You know, instead of, again, the way it is now, where the winner has ownership of the child and the loser is authorized to visit. We believe in more of a shared parenting model, where both parents, as they are typically before the divorce or separation, where they remain to be equally involved with the children in the aftermath.
You know, Andre, that seems so funny, because when they're married, okay, we both share in the discipline of the child, we both share in the responsibilities of that child, and the upbringing of that child, and the education, the religious background of that child. But the minute the judge says, okay, this is a final decree, now all of a sudden, one of us is not capable of being able to fulfill those obligations. And why is that? You know,